GearNetwork.com.
This is a Gear Network production. You a new podcaster need a show introduction or a commercial bumper? Or do you need a commercial for your business, brand, or podcast? Need help with producing your content? Let GRN Productions answer the call. For as little as $5, GRN can provide the services needed to make your podcast sound exceptional, regardless of what network you belong to. From voice work to checking and balancing your levels to eliminating dead air, we have you covered. Head on over to GearNetwork.com. That's GERE Network.com and click on the GRN Productions banner under the Support Our Friends box on the main page beneath the Amazon logo to take a look at some of the deals that we offer. Alternatively, you can email me at GearNetwork, GERE Network @gmail.com with what you need, and I'd be happy to reach out and discuss the plans that work best for you. Don't delay, stand out today with GRN Productions. You need quality, we need money. Let's be friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cyclone Jones, and I am with Pat G. The G stands for gangster. And remember, the TTRP is sponsored by the Gear Network store through Amazon. If you visit shopgear.com, it's a little bit different. That's shop, GERE.com, and click on any of the banners. It will take you right to your account, and you can do all your Amazon shopping there.
When you shop Amazon and Amazon Prime, but Amazon kicks back a small percentage of your purchases back to us here at the Gear Network so we can continue to bring you the great program that you've come to know and love, like the TTRP, Turnbuckle Talk Radio podcast, Better Live Than Dead, the FTW podcast, the JC Money Show, and Trust the Podcast from the Gear Network. So that's shopgear.com, shopgere.com for all your Amazon and Amazon Prime purchases from us here at the Gear Network. This is part 2 of the exclusive here at Grapplers Anonymous. We're going to be joined by a couple of guys that train here at Grapplers, and also the other half of the teaching peg here at the GA, Brandon Thurston. The interviews are coming from a up-and-comer person that's refereeing right now, Nolan. You have Vinnie Moon, and we're also joined by the Red Death, Daniel Garcia, and Kevin Blackwood. And like I said, we're also joined by Brandon Thurston. And to finish it off, we're going to be joined back once again by Mikey every night. And we're here back on the TTRP live broadcast from Grapplers Anonymous here in Lackawanna, New York, where the up-and-coming crop of Western New York talent in pro wrestling industry is training. And we're joined by one of the men that trains here at GA, not yet a wrestler, but does other things like refereeing there. His name is Nolan. Introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Nolan. I am a trainee at Grapplers Anonymous. I am currently refereeing on the weekends for most promotions around Western New York. I have recently passed the trial, so I am starting the wrestling part of the spiel here.
Nice. Well, what led you to come to Grapplers?
I think it was the desire to be a pro wrestler. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much the main thing everyone says when they first come here.
Of course.
But for me, it was I wanted to do something physical that wasn't just the gym. Mm-hmm. And why not pro wrestling when everything else is pretty much the door shut once you leave high school to become a professional in athletics anyway.
Unless you're like super talented.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Now we ask everybody this question, even the guys that we've interviewed and everything in the past. What was like the moment in time that like sparked your this is what I want to do? Where like for my co-host Cyclone Jones, his moment was he was in a restaurant going in and they had Raw on or whatever, and he saw The Rock, and The Rock was shooting the promo, and he's like light bulb, and was like, that's what I want to do. What was your light bulb moment
Well, I've always been a professional wrestling fan. Throughout high school and into college, it kind of died off a little bit because I didn't have the time to keep up with it anymore. But then in around 2014, it was when Seth Rollins broke up the Shield and turned heel, and then went on to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. That was probably the moment in time where it was like, I would like to do what he's doing.
Okay, so it was kind of Seth Rollins deciding, all right, I need to do this alone, and then what WWE essentially calls the heist of the century.
Yes,
where you cash in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. That was your moment of, this is what I want to do.
Yes.
So when you came to Grapplers, of course, you got the tour and everything. You had to go, and they told you obviously about the tryout.
Yep.
How many times did you take the tryout before finally getting it?
The first time I actually took the tryout, I did one burpee and fell over backwards, and Mikey told me to take some time off and come back. So what we did, we worked out a plan where I could come here, work out, get myself into shape for the trial. And then as time progressed and I was getting stronger, as new guys were coming in, I would just take the trial with them to see where I was at as a measurement.
Okay.
It's more of a practice deal and not a legit trial.
Yeah.
It was probably about a month and a half ago now, maybe 2 months, that I was right on the cusp of passing. And then we had a gentleman come in. His name is Lou. He helps out at ESW. He took the trial. He was the first one I actually took the trial with, and that was my first failure. But in between the time I took the first one and the last one with Lou, I've probably done the trial about 8 times.
Okay. Kind of in that, so to speak, measuring stick.
Yes.
And that. For you, tell everybody out there that maybe wants it to be a pro wrestler in the Western New York area, what would be your suggestions for them to be like, get themselves prepared for the trial or GA?
I would say come in, check out the gym, get the trial sheet from Mikey or whoever might be here. It could be Brandon, Chris. But I would say that the best thing to do is actually practice the trial on your own time. I know it's hard because we have to run these stairs out here, which is 5 flights. I think each one is 6 or 7 steps. So I think it ends up being like 42 to 45 steps. And you got to do that 9 times in the trial, and 6 of the times are going to be with a heavy bag on your shoulder. But the main thing is cardio. You don't get in the ring when you come to the trial. What you do is you show Mikey where you're at physically and mentally, and if you're prepared to do this or not. That's really what the trial is for, is to see if you have the heart and the mindset to really push through and get the trial, and then you can start wrestling.
Okay. Well, you said you passed the trial finally, so you're finally starting to be in. While you were kind of doing that from that first failure till the passing, you've kind of been like working out and whatever.
Yes.
And Mikey gave you the chance to be a ref.
Yes.
And everything. Obviously, you trained here, referee and everything. How is that training as a referee? What did that lead you to find? Where did that lead you to?
Where did the refereeing lead me to? I think the refereeing was like a re-energizer for me. It was probably about 3 months into me working out here that Mikey gave me that opportunity. And it breathed fresh life into me, into what I expected out of this place. And I've gotten everything and more from this place than I expected. If you were to tell me 3 months from the time that I stepped into the gym and now that I would be refereeing shows or doing anything on shows, I would have probably laughed and said, you're crazy. But now when you're in the ring every weekend, it's your dream come true. That's what it feels like every weekend. You just live your dream. You're on the road with your friends all the time. It's great. Being a referee also led me to want to be stronger and get better and be in better shape so that I could wrestle, and that's where I'm at now. So I'm at the point where I can start doing things more in the ring more freely. Okay.
While training everything, has the training here allowed you to kind of, because of course, there's spots in a match where the referee will get knocked down or whatever. Has any of the times that you've been refereeing at shows there's been a spot where you've had to take a bump?
Yes. There's been two that come to my mind. One was Chris West versus Nick Merrick for the Nickel City Championship. Mm-hmm. That was the main event of the show, and I took a corner splash from Merrick. Not really a big
I've
deal.
taken one from Chris, so at least you got off on the better one of that.
That's true. So with Merrick, it was light. It wasn't too stiff or anything like that. It was perfect. It was the best way to finish that match, the way they set it up, because it was a hard-hitting affair. So they needed kind of something to break it up in order for
them to go
for Kaiju to go
for the direction that they were going to go.
That show. The other one, I was at PWR, and this was the first time I was ever there. They needed me for one match, and we were playing an angle to get Vince Valor suspended. Mm-hmm. So he turned on his manager, who was Wes Adams at the time down there. He turned on him. He beat him up with a chair. I don't remember what else he did to Wes. But as I'm checking on Wes, Vince snaps again. So I take the chair from Vince on the back. He flips me over, chokes me out the chair, gives me a few shots to the face. That gets him suspended from PWR. He hasn't been on that show in 2 months. Okay. So suspension stayed pretty.
Suspension is stayed within, but those are the 2 moments that would come to. What would your advice be to anyone that's in that, hey, I want to do this, but I don't know if I'm ready kind of situation?
I would say come to the gym. It's $40 to take the trial. Really, all you have to lose is the $40 because they're going to tell you whether or not, like in a couple months, if you work out, you'll be ready to come back and take a trial, the actual trial again. It does add up if you come every weekend and try to take a trial. What you want to do is come take the trial once, see where you're at. Let Mikey tell you where you're at. Somebody can assess that for you. And then if you're not, like, if you don't pass it, come back in like say 4 or 5 months. Yeah, something along that line. That way you have an idea because Mikey, Brandon, whoever has told you, and then you come back kind of like you did. Yes, and everything, and then now look at all of a sudden you've passed it and you're going to start training. Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much, Nolan. That was Nolan, one of the trainees here at Grapplers Anonymous. We'll be back on the TTRP.
Hey, everyone. You like the music that you hear? Whether it's a background music on the commercial, a selection from either Brandon or myself on Football Talk Weekly, myself on TJCMS, or maybe the Turnbuckle Talk radio podcast, folks, played a wrestling theme that you just dig and you want to hear over and over and over again. Well, I'll tell you what. Gear Network can hook you up with Amazon Music Unlimited 30-day free trial. You can listen to tens of millions of songs, any song, anywhere, with new releases from today's most popular artists. You can listen to it ad-free with unlimited skips. And the best part, the most awesome part, you can save that data if you're still on one of them tiered data plans like I am. You can download it for offline listening. Better yet, if you have Amazon Echo at home, because I know you do, you can just ask Alexa to play whatever song you want, and they'll do it for you, just like that. It's kind of crazy. After the 30-day trial, you're really going to like this. The price for this is amazing. $7.99 a month or $79 a year for an individual plan for Prime members, or $14.99 a month, $149 a year for a family plan for Prime members. Or if you just want to go with just the Echo, because you like the Echo, you have the Echo at your house, and you want to just do an Echo plan, hey, $3.99 a month. You can't go wrong there. If you're also a student, you get a discount as well. Head to GearNetwork.com. On the top bar, it says Support the Shows. Under Shop Amazon, you will find the Amazon Music Unlimited free trial link right there, and you can click that and sign up for a free 30-day trial of Amazon Music Unlimited. This podcast does receive a special bonus if you do sign up and use the 30 days, even if you don't keep it. So it helps us out tremendously. But if Amazon is not your thing as well, right to the left of Support the Shows is the donate button, and we accept PayPal in any denomination. As always, thank you for your likes, your shares, your listens, your support, your shopping through Amazon, your donates through PayPal on GearNetwork.com.
This question that we have on the show, what was the quote-unquote light bulb for you that made you want to become a pro wrestler?
So for me, the light bulb, so to speak, I guess, like, I don't really know if there necessarily was one. I grew up watching wrestling as a young kid, and I loved it. I loved watching it, but like I never saw myself actually doing it because I didn't know how to get involved. But Kevin Bennett moved in next door to my dad's house, and he was really into it more than I was. And he was really involved with Empire State Wrestling, and that's how, I'd already known about Empire State Wrestling, but I started training when I was 16 there, and that's all in part to him because I never would have known about that. So I just started training there, and then when Grapplers opened, I worked hard to get into Grapplers because you do have to pass a physical trial to start training here. So that took me a little while, but I finally passed it, and I've been working really hard, and the rest is history.
Well, speaking of Kevin Bennett, do you know that there's some people that call you not Kevin Bennett?
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I've been called.
There's a couple of people. There's one that I know of because she recently went to a show with me. She's like, I don't know the kid's name. I just call him not Kevin Bennett.
Okay.
Because before Kevin Bennett cut his hair and everything, he had the long blonde hair, and I was like, he's like that the long blonde hair, the same kind of build that Kevin Bennett did at one point. She's like. He's not. Oh, I was like, that's Vinnie Moon. I was like, he's a good kid. I was like, I like him. And she's like, no, he's not Kevin Bennett.
Yeah.
So it works because Kevin Bennett is the reason you got into wrestling.
Yeah.
So does essentially, and it's like some people consider you not Kevin Bennett.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. I do owe a lot to him for getting me started and helping me out. But as far as like the whole look goes, that was just like I wasn't planning anything. It just kind of happened. Yeah, it kind of happened.
Well. For someone that has got involved at 16, and obviously you started training ESW at 16 and everything, you haven't got your opportunities just yet.
Yes.
Obviously that had to be disheartening to a degree.
Yes, it's definitely a discouraging factor a little bit to see guys that you're training with get their chances and opportunities to wrestle for a promotion like Empire State Wrestling. And the competition is tough. You got to work really hard to be a part of a promotion like that. And, you just got to keep working hard and just keep working for what you want. And, it's going to happen. I'm going to get there. It's just, didn't necessarily happen as quickly as I wanted to, but that's okay.
Well, while you haven't had your opportunity at ESW yet, you've had opportunities at IWF, Nickel City, and other places. How have them opportunities kind of given you a barometer or an idea of where you're at compared to a lot of people that are ESW?
I definitely feel that these places have definitely helped me. They've definitely helped me to prepare for wrestling on a higher caliber that is ESW. So I'm very, thankful and glad that I've gotten these opportunities before I wrestled for ESW, because if I would have wrestled for ESW before any of these shows, I don't know how, good I would be beforehand and prepared. So I'm definitely very glad in that I started in Nickel City and IWF Southern Tier. I worked UPW once when I was first starting in a Battle Royal, did a Bobby Fish seminar there, so that was cool. But yeah, as far as the other shows, comparing ESW, I enjoy it.
It's all a learning experience for you to get your better.
Of course.
Well, as we wrap up here real quick, when you finally have that opportunity at ESW, who on the ESW roster would you want to face your first match?
Geez, that's hard, man. That's a hard one. There's so many guys that are part of that roster now that I train with every week. So it's honestly, I'm not going to be able to pick just one guy, but there's so many guys that I would like to wrestle in my first match, like Daniel Garcia, Kevin Blackwood, Nick Merrick, who he trains at Grapplers. He wrestled for ESW earlier on. Like I said, there's so many guys from Grapplers that I would like to step in there with. And, once it happens, I'm very excited for when it does happen. And, we're just going to keep working hard to when it finally does happen. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. To wrap up here, because I asked Nolan, what would be your advice to someone that maybe listens to this podcast that's in the Buffalo area that maybe wants to become a pro wrestler? What would be your advice to them?
My advice to them would be, and Brandon Thurston's told me this a lot, and it's very good advice. And you just got to work really hard. You got to want to be a professional wrestler. You got to train when you're first starting multiple times a week, or else you're not going to retain the information, the knowledge, and the physical moves and knowing how to do those, you're not going to retain it as much if you're only coming like once a week when you first start. You need to be here. You need to be dedicated. You need to work out. And that's something that I'm struggling with too is size. You need to look like an athlete and look like a wrestler. And that's something, like I said, that I struggle with, that I'm working on. But you just overall just be dedicated and have a good head on your shoulders and just listen to people's advice and just overall work hard.
Well, that was Vinnie Moon, ladies and gentlemen, here on the TTRP. Thank you very much, Vinnie.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a short break and hopefully come back with Mikey and Brandon Thurston to wrap this up.
You spring, I spring, we all spring for Teespring. You know what that means? As corny as that was, yes, I know it's corny as hell, we have a t-shirt store. It is up and it is running. And right now we have 8 shirts, but it is growing. The merchandise is growing. Right now we have shirts going from as little as $13 for a TJCMS first t-shirt to $20 for a Gear Network logo t-shirt. All of them available to be delivered right to your front door. You choose your size, you choose your style, and you go. It's as simple as that, and there are plenty more t-shirts to come, but take a look at our Teespring store. If you go to gearnetwork.com, under the Support the Shows banner and 4 links down is gear merchandise. That will take you directly to our Teespring store, and you can see all of our selection of our current shirts right now, our current merchandise. Thank you again for all of your support and using our links on gearnetwork.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back here on the TTRP, Pat G, and we're here live at Grapplers Anonymous here in Lackawanna, New York, and we've been kind of talking to some of the guys training here, but this time we've got a 2-for-1 with 2 of the most accomplished students here at GA, Daniel Garcia and Kevin Blackwood.
Yeah. What's good?
Well, real quick, this is for you, Daniel.
What's up?
We talked to Tyson Dukes recently.
Okay.
He put you over big, said you have a bright future ahead of you after you guys' match.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Kevin Blackwood, you've been making a name for yourself along the lines with some of the guys you've wrestled.
Been trying.
Trying.
Includes Tyson Dukes.
Huh?
That includes Tyson Dukes.
That does include Tyson Dukes.
Mine was better.
He put me over on Twitter.
He put me over on Twitter, too.
Oh, good.
Well, as you guys were coming down here, you guys were like talking about just stuff and Instagram posts. You guys said somebody tried to book you guys via Instagram post?
Not me. But.
Shadowcat, runner of Nickel City Wrestling, tried to book Puff and I, tag team name, Shakin' and Shootin'.
Yeah.
Via Instagram Live. We were on Instagram Live, we were eating enemy slaps.
He tried to comment on your Instagram.
Yeah, we were at TJ on Fridays. He said, we miss
Endless
you.
apps.
He said, we miss you guys. We want you guys back. And I didn't hear from him. Well, he actually mentioned me in a Facebook comment, trying to drag me into like a storyline with Robbie Vegas and
Matt, his partner, Mad Dog?
Yeah, Mad Dog. And then I didn't hear from him. He didn't message me.
Also a former Grapplers Anonymous student.
Yeah, hasn't showed up since, but that's besides the point.
He was here that one day.
Yeah, he was here one day.
All right.
I think he
Kevin, you were, Mikey said you were part of that first initial group that came in the Grapplers Anonymous.
I think I was part of the second group, technically. Okay. I took the first trial.
The first trial?
Yes.
All right.
Me and there was like 20 people here, so like at least 20 people here that day. Mm-hmm. And all of us were welcomed back, and only 5 of us came back, and now there's only 2 of us left. Kind of, if you count Wes Adams.
The white stripe
Wes Adams, who doesn't really wrestle all that much.
But he's a really nice
But
guy.
I love him.
We love him.
Wes is a good guy.
He knows us about him.
Now, we pretty much ask everybody this, like during interviews. What was the quote-unquote light bulb moment for you guys that made you want to become pro wrestlers?
Mine was at an ESW show. It was Tony Nese against Johnny Gargano. I can't remember what month that was or what year. It might have been like 2014, 2015.
Yeah, it was around. I believe it was around that.
But that was like the match where I was like, oh, I can do this. I'm taller than both these guys. I can do this. You know what I mean?
Kind of had that moment. Of okay.
Yeah. I started to look into training.
Well, what was yours, Kevin?
I didn't have like a moment. I kind of have like I had like about a 2-year span where there was like multiple times I tried to start training to be a pro wrestler. The first time I drove out to the UPW dojo there in 2013, and
Who trains there? Like who's the trainer?
Colin Delaney, I believe.
Colin Delaney is the trainer. I knew he was
Colin Delaney, Mark House, and
Hellcat, right?
And Hellcat, I think, were the ones.
I went there to train with Colin, but they told me that he trained on Wednesdays, and I wasn't. That would have been really difficult with my work schedule. And then so the guys there, I don't know who they were because I haven't seen them since I started actually wrestling. But they were like, "Come back next Monday, and we'll walk you through some stuff, and we'll get you started until you're able to start coming in with Colin." So I showed up, and they had ribbed me, and the dojo was closed. So I got really discouraged, and then I moved to Wisconsin, and I trained for like 3 weeks there, and I got discouraged there too. And then finally, I met the Caesar from ESW, and because he gets trained or he gets tattooed by my boss.
Okay.
And I asked him, like, what's the deal? Where can I train in Buffalo to become a pro wrestler? And this was 2015, I think. And he told me about Grapplers and that there was going to be a trial coming up.
Yeah, because that back then Grapplers was kind of like a need to know basis to it.
It was kind of, I think they were just like, I think everybody that came here, they just found them at shows or like in public.
That's what it was. When Grapplers first opened, unless you were directly told by Mikey and Chris, like you really didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And for that first like tryout that you were a part of, it was kind of because of you essentially knowing someone that was in wrestling in Western New York.
That's kind of what happened with me too. Like there was I think it was like a Tommaso Ciampa seminar that was announced, and like I was like, oh, I'm athletic enough, I can probably take a seminar, whatever. And then like I emailed ESW or like Facebook Messenger or something.
Yeah.
Knowing now it was definitely Thurston because he runs all the social media and stuff. I said like, hey, like I have this background, blah blah blah. I was wondering if I could take the seminar, and he was like, no, you can't. It's experienced trainers only. But there's a school in Buffalo, New York called Grapplers Anonymous, blah blah blah. I think that was before you even started training.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like 17.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mikey brought up the story about you and everything, honey, like because you guys live like relatively close here in South Buffalo.
Me and Mikey live like 2 streets away from each other.
And you came over. It was like you and your mom. And he's like, I'm 17. Well, I can't. You got to wait till you're 18. And then Mikey, he's like, I was walking down the street in the rain. I hear somebody yelling my name. And it was you. And he's like, you're 18. He's like, yeah.
I was like going for a run like around Botanical Gardens, like the streets down, and like I wasn't like really into wrestling that much. Like a year later, then like I saw Mikey and I was like, yo. He was like, yo, what's up? And he was like, you still want to be a wrestler? Like I really didn't. And I was like, yeah. Then I kind of felt like I had to do it. And then here I am, I guess.
Well, I'd like to say before we got on, you were talking about my esteemed co-host, Cyclone Jones.
Cyclone?
He calls you the Red Death.
Yeah.
He loves you. What like he loves your style and wrestling ability and everything. What's your issue with him?
Yeah, I don't really have an issue with him. It's just like
you just
I mean,
kind of.
We have like a fake heat type thing.
Ah, okay.
We have different views on how people and how, especially young wrestlers, should have to act. I think.
Okay. What's your view? I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious.
Know, like I'm a big advocate of the mindset that it doesn't really matter like how long you've wrestled. It's about like what you've done.
It's kind of the way like people think that if they're older that they automatically deserve your respect, even if they've done nothing to earn it.
Yeah, something like that. But like Ish never done that to me. Ish has always been nice to me. That's he'll tell the story.
That's my department.
But Ish has always been nice to me. Like we're cool with each other. It's just like there was a promotion where like I was like working at and like I wasn't really happy with the pay. And I asked for more money, and then like we couldn't agree on the money, so I stopped wrestling there. And like he had to talk with me about it, about like how, if he was in my shoe, he didn't like yell. Like,
okay.
He was like,
if he was giving.
If you said if he was in my shoes,
Okay.
he wouldn't have asked for...
He would have handled it differently.
He wouldn't have asked for more money.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. But I don't know. I think I'm worth the money that I ask for. Other places seem to think so.
Well, that was one of the things that Mikey brought up.
Yeah.
Mikey's like, we teach our guys to be like
to know your worth.
To know what your worth. To know your worth.
I like Ish though. Cyclone.
Now, you Kevin, you mentioned that's your department as far as like older people that are older and whatnot. Is there a story behind that, or just kind of a situation?
If we want to keep talking about Ish,
okay.
I like I like you, Ish.
Well,
I like him too now, but I wanted to beat his ass when I met him.
I
wanted to punch him in the mouth.
Oh wow! Why?
Because he'll tell you. And Ish, if you're listening, I know you'll tell him.
He'll listen to this. I know he will.
He'll tell you that I showed up and I walked right past him and didn't bother to acknowledge him. But when I showed up to that building, Dana Garcia, my good friend, walked me in. Cyclone Jones was nowhere to be found. I didn't even know that he was on the show because I knew nothing about Nickel City Wrestling at the time. Mm-hmm. I had shaken everybody's hand. I was sitting down. I was just on my phone. And out of nowhere, I hear, Blackwood! And I turn and I look, and it's Cyclone Jones. And he says, do you know who the fuck I am? And I was like, no. And he was like, then why the fuck you not over here shaking my hand? And I was like, all right. So I stood up and I shook his hand and I said, hi. And I looked him in his eyes and I went and sat down and got back on my phone because that was stupid.
Well, okay. In Cyclone's defense, and that he's done that to a lot of people.
Oh, that makes it better.
He's done it to a lot of people, but it's kind of a smart-alecky, smart-ass joking manner, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, he means nothing by it. Yeah. It's like nothing personal. It's just because he's done it to me a couple times.
Yeah.
Like, it's him he's just kind of breaking the ice, so to speak, or whatever. Mm-hmm. He knows of you guys, and we're not. And it's just like, hey, it's a brotherhood. Just joking.
That type.
Like nothing serious or anything like that. Like that. Like because I think one of the shows me and him was doing when it was OSPW. Uh-huh. And like
good promotion.
It was like he wasn't there. I'd walk in and kind of and whatnot. And he did it. He's like. And I was like, sorry, I didn't know you weren't here.
I like Cyclone Jones. Really good guy. I heard he makes really good,
Yeah, again.
He does.
Cyclone Jones, I like you now, but I did not like you.
I heard he makes really good food, too. I want to come over sometime. We were supposed to before a Nickel City show, but you know how that stuff goes, I guess.
Well, he'll listen to this, so. But cycling back to...
cycloning.
Yeah, cycloning back to Grapplers Anonymous.
Yeah.
How is the training here from Mikey, Brandon, and Pepper Parks helped you guys build to this point where you guys are now in your careers?
Everyone offers like a bunch of different stuff, which is really cool to me. Like Mikey offers like very personality and like character work type stuff like that. Thurston's very good with like match psychology and match structure. He's very good with. Mm-hmm. And then Pepper is like really good for like advanced, like putting like a polish on people, like the little things.
So kind of like you have like it's like a 3-step, like 3 steps.
Yeah, like Mikey and Thurston kind of go like hand in hand, but like, once you get advanced enough, like
Pepper's kind of there. Yeah, they like
you can only learn like
kind of polish the rough edges.
Yeah, you can only like learn so many moves and like you can only learn like such match structure. So then like once you learn all that stuff and get a pretty good grasp on that stuff, it's just good to get like a good polish from someone who's like wrestled on TV, like and across the world and stuff like that.
Very cool.
For a lot of years.
Yeah.
Well, I've asked the other guys that have come on, what would be the advice that you guys would give somebody listening to this that might be from the Western New York area that was like, hey, you know what? I'm 18, 19, whatever. I want to be a pro wrestler. Obviously, there's this place I can go to. What would be you guys' advice to them about coming to GA? And pursuing that dream.
Work out, work hard, and be a good person. Be like fun to be around. Because then, if you work hard, obviously,
straight up, like everybody knows like automatically if you're like no fun to be around. And wrestling now, like I've heard stories of how wrestling used to be, and I know it was very
6 years ago.
yeah, like very different than it is now.
Yeah,
and it's very like there's a lot of like it's based on a lot of camaraderie. And you know, like we all like to, you gotta like want to be around the people that you're gonna be sharing the locker room with and sharing the ring with. Like I don't want to wrestle somebody and trust somebody like with my life essentially that I'm not sure if they are gonna accidentally on purpose hurt me. You know,
that makes sense.
Not even so much like from like being a jerk standpoint, just from a point of like you have to be like you kind of gotta like be one of the boys in order to like get opportunities and to like people invite you to like go in the car to like go to promotion, like drive 10 hours to Canada with like stuff like that.
Which I haven't gone to Canada, but I've done the 10 plus hour drives and everything to like down south to Georgia and everything.
You've done it with like probably like fun people and then not so fun people, right?
Most of the time I'm usually riding with the people I've ridden are fun. It's probably my riding thing has probably been by myself to Ohio.
Yeah.
And then I've gone down south with the IndyCar Mafia. I've rode a lot with Cyclone and everything. And I've got to the point where now with where I'm at LPW in Ohio, like he's asked me, he's like, dude, I was like, hey, I know this person. I'm like, he's been told me, like, they want a spot. Come. Come. That first show, I tell people when they do that, I was like, listen, you can come. I was like, I literally tell people I'm like 10, 15, $20 at most, gas-wise. I was like, if it's just one person, I try to split it as even as possible. And then I tell people, I'm like, come that first one, I can't guarantee you anything. I'm not the booker. I'm not the promoter. I could bring you and be like, hey. And then from there on out, it's up to you.
Yeah, of course.
So, well, we're wrapping up here.
What?
Any final words?
Why? We're just getting started.
Final words?
Why?
Trust me, we'll have you guys back on at another time. Any final words from you guys?
Wait, what's a good last word I can say? Tiger Smith, if you're listening to this, keep my name out your mouth, or I'll shut up for you real quick, boy.
Hey, there you go.
Real talk though.
Yeah.
Shout out Pepper Parks one time.
Brandon Thurston 2 times. Mikey every night. Also
5 times.
1 time.
One
5
time.
times.
5 times?
Shout out J-Rock.
Oh boy, you've got a J-Rock mention. Alright, we'll be back here on the TTRP.
IndyCard Media is your one-stop shop for quality designs at a quality price. They offer merchandising, company branding, event posters, custom clothing designs, and so much more. Check out their gallery of past designs by visiting facebook.com/IndyCard Media and tell them what you think. That's IndyCard Media, 337-446-4331 or IndyCardMafia@gmail.com. Tell them that we sent you. Again, 337-446-4331. IndyCard Media. Bring your designs to life.
And we're back here on Turnbuckle Talk Radio, TTRP. I'm here live at Grapplers Anonymous in Lackawanna, New York, and I'm here with the other building block of Grapplers here, Brandon Thurston.
Hi, we're recording right now, huh?
We are.
Wow.
We are.
Cool.
Well, Brandon, how has the training you received when you started in your pro wrestling career led to you using it to the training you do here at Grapplers?
I guess, I was trained by a lot of different people over a long time. So it wasn't like it is here, or like I think it is in most places where you're kind of trained in one community with 1 or 2 or 3 people who are the people who have the knowledge. I mean, that's when I first started showing up to ESW in 2003, which is shortly after my 18th birthday. There was a house, JP Hawk's house. Do you know who JP Hawk is?
I've heard the name.
You know the legend of JP.
I know the legend.
Mr. 300.
Yes.
JP Hawk. So his house and his garage was where the ring was stored. Yeah. Patchy's gonna close the door because there's all this ambient noise going on from the training. Yeah, JP Hawk's house and his garage, that's where the ring was stored, and we would go there 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we would pull the ring out of his garage, assemble it, set it up, and then train and then tear it down. And like when I started out, there was a guy named Hector who wrestled as Sakura, who was the trainer, who actually knew how to work on the left side. He was properly trained by the All-Nighters originally. And I missed out on some people being trained on the right side, like right-sided arm locks and headlocks and stuff. So I missed out on that stuff back at Project Future, which is still there on Niagara Falls Boulevards, where the original ESW, when ESW first started out, when they first started training, and nobody had a clue of what they were doing, is the legend that I've heard. They started out at Project Future, which is on Niagara Falls Boulevard, like in Wheatfield, North Tonawanda area. By like Whitmer, if you know where that is. But yeah, and then eventually they moved to, they got kicked out of there because like somebody put a hole in the wall, or because somebody took a baseball slide and fell into the wall.
So, the property damage and something like that.
So they got kicked out of Project Future and they were relegated to JP Hawk's driveway. And that's where I showed up. And yeah, like I said, Hector was training us. He was originally trained by the All-Nighters, who are a Canadian tag team of the Sexy Monkey Robin Nightwing and Joey Knight. And eventually, I think Hector felt like he had taught us everything that he could teach us, so he was like, I'm going to bring the All-Nighters in. And so Sexy Monkey Robin Nightwing, who his name is Pat, and Joey, they started training us for a while, and then Beth Phoenix would come with them. Sometimes Kevin Grace would come with them a lot, and Kevin Grace ended up being one of our main trainers there and at ESW at the time. And eventually ESW went like out of business or whatever, and I started going to Rochester to train at the Kayfabe Dojo, and I learned a lot from Jimmy Olsen there. I would go like twice a week for a period of like 8 to 10 months. I went like twice a week to Rochester, and yeah, I learned a lot from Jimmy Olsen, who was really tearing it up in Rochester and upstate at the time.
Yeah. Now, like you said, you've a lot of people had their hands in your training.
Yeah.
How's all that led to you building the curriculum here at Grapplers?
The rolls, like the roll drill that I do is basically the roll drill that they do in Rochester. But like we had Jack and Kate here today who do like all these other different rolls and shit. Can I swear?
Yes, you can.
Okay. But I don't know. I guess I kind of like fantasy booked doing training for a while before we ended up doing it. So I had like some plans in mind of like of how to train people and what curriculum to go through. Like there's a curriculum on the wall. That's what you're referring to. I guess I just figured that, and this isn't something that anybody ever gave to me, but like I figured, right, what do we need to train people on? All this stuff. And just came up with a list of stuff, and it starts with rolls, and then there's bumps, and there's hitting the ropes. And then the way I train after that is like I try to build a universal. So I try to train in like a holistic way to get people to not just learn a bunch of spots, but to learn, or not to learn a bunch of moves individually that have no context, but I try to give them, let's do the universal first. And so you have a whole spot. So it's more like a holistic thing where you have to sell. You have to have intensity. You have to shoot the guy off well, and you have to tackle well, and you have to have that moment after the tackle where you're standing strong and all that.
Essentially, the building it up.
Yeah,
like kind of starting here and then building up to a certain point.
Yeah, we build the universal, and then once the universal is built, then I teach all of the what I call small high spots, body slams, vertical suplex. I guess hip toss and arm drag are part of that too, and eventually we get to strikes, and eventually we get to a bunch of pins, and then we do some other drills that help you learn how to work, and then you have practice matches.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people in Western New York, my co-host and also, has said you're one of the best technical wrestlers in the area, and that's kind of your thing.
That's what the myth says. That's the legend.
That's the myth, the legend of Brandon Thurston. How has your style of kind of down on the mat, ground and pound, related to the things you teach here at Grapplers?
Loosely. Like, I don't think mat wrestling or chain wrestling is something that everybody necessarily needs to have a deep knowledge of to get over, you know? Like, that's our job. That's what we teach people here. Like, that's what I feel like I'm trying to teach people here is how to get over and how to do business for themselves. And whether or not chain wrestling needs to be a part of that it's different for everybody. But if you do want to become a great chain wrestler, like Every Night and I are here, and we know how to chain wrestle.
Well, I talked to Mikey earlier, and he said you and him kind of have a good cop, bad cop relationship.
We have a complementary relationship. Yeah.
Well, I even said that. I was like, because he brought it up how you guys were building everything. Your organizational skills kind of helped him with his freeform, and he even coined it. He's like kind of a good cop, bad cop, and I'm kind of like
it's mom and a dad.
Yeah. I was like, how does that relationship, like that complementary relationship, work here?
Mikey is very personable. I heard him call himself once the master of ceremonies of Grapplers Anonymous. And he's the one who nurtures people, but he also, the landlord gimmick?
Yes.
Mikey came up with the landlord gimmick, and he's come up with a lot of creative ideas, and he nurtures people well, and he gives people good advice, and he bonds people, which is like an underrated thing in wrestling, like the social activity and all the social stuff that happens, whether it's drama or people becoming friends. That's a big component that nobody really talks about, I think, in wrestling, whether we're talking about just like the politics of wrestling or how to get booked and how to get better in wrestling. A lot of it is very social, and we would not be what we are if we didn't have Mikey getting everybody bonded together and making people who walk through the door where I'm just like, again, do it again, do this, do that, get in better shape, I feel like I know what to do to make people into good wrestlers, and if it was just me here, just spitting that stuff out at people, they would probably be like not so excited to come back. But he keeps people.
He's kind of, like you said, you guys have that compliment where you're the
I'm the emotionally distant father, who provides, and he is the nurturing mother.
The nurturing mother. That's the roles. Yeah. Now, how has what Mikey teaches, you teaches, help people get to the point of getting that final so-called polish by Pepper Parks, who comes here once a week and has that advanced? But I know some of you guys, trainees and students, they've talked to Pepper because Pepper's probably been here at times. How does what that polish, so to speak, help you guys with your overall goal?
How does
you giving them the basics and everything?
We build people from scratch here.
Yeah,
we create wrestlers here.
You create wrestlers.
Yeah, and Pepper comes here on Wednesdays and he puts a polish on, and he gives people good advice that's not advice that I would give. But what I mean by that, not that I disagree with it, but that it's an insight that I didn't have to provide. It puts a coat of polish. It puts a wonderful color of paint on our beautiful house.
Yeah, you got you and Mikey, the two cards that build, and then Pepper's kind of the final coat.
Yeah, it's Wednesdays are for active wrestlers. All active wrestlers are welcome. I wonder too I want Grapplers Anonymous to be a place that is really an independent wrestling school, and that doesn't have and I think that's a good thing. That's one of the things that keeps the scene in the Buffalo area more healthy, is that this place is not associated officially anyway.
Well, I even talked to Mikey about that. Yeah. There had been when Grapplers first opened, and then it's built up to where it is now with Mikey, you, Pepper Parks, and everything. There were some people that kind of were why don't you just guys name it the quote-unquote School of ESW? And Mikey even said, he's like, I had somebody come up to me and ask him, that's not what we are.
What's ESW going to do for us to make it that? And even if I'm not even open to that idea though, because I think then it's we're serving a promotion. I don't want to serve a promotion. I want to serve people who want to become good workers. I think what happens, and this is what's going on in Rochester, is the impression I have is that you just take anybody, and we have a tryout thing here, and if you're just taking anybody, whether they're in a place where they're physically ready to be a wrestler or not. But that's the way to make money, is bring everybody in, whoever, and keep them there, and then eventually just put them in your promotion and don't pay them very much and make them sell tickets. And that's sounds like an effective way to make money, but not a very effective way to build good wrestlers and build a healthy independent wrestling scene.
Okay. No, that makes sense, because a lot of promoters out there will just grab whoever's hey, sell tickets. Because Mikey said, when he got into wrestling, he's I wanted to wrestle in front of my friends and family, and I wanted to make money. He's I did that within the first year, and I was like, well, everything else after that's just an icing cake. And he's like, yeah, me and Brandon filled the tub with icing, essentially. So with Mikey's kind of like that nurturing mother aspect, you being the distant father, as you called it.
I guess I didn't say that.
How has that led you to give that push to the guys that have gone out there and made names for themselves, like Kevin Blackwood, like Daniel Garcia, like Vinnie Moon? How has that shaped them to become the wrestlers they are?
How has what shaped them?
Like that, you kind of being again, making sure they get it right.
These guys have great fundamentals because I don't know. I can't tell you what it would be like if they were trained by somebody else because they weren't. But I think there's sometimes in training there's a lot of talking and a lot of too much feedback of let's talk about how you did this, how you can do this differently forever. And I'm just here's some feedback. Do it again. Stop sitting around and talk. Just do it again. And I don't know. I believe in giving people a lot of reps because the more we're teaching you a language, we're teaching you a physical language. And you need to practice it a lot. And you need to get the reps in. And I need to teach your body. I need to teach your body the muscle memory to be able to do all these movements automatically. And the only way to teach you all this stuff and to put it deeply in your muscle memory is to have you
repetition.
Do it a lot. But I'm also trying to be mindful of is this killing you yet?
Yeah.
I will say that a lot. I will say again, and I will say, is this killing you yet? A lot.
Well, the tryout that you guys have, on everything.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to someone that's listening to this, that's heard Mikey, that's heard students, that's heard you? Yeah. What would be your advice to them going, hey, I want to become a pro wrestler. I know about this place, but I may not be in the best shape for this tryout.
Uh-huh.
What would be your advice to them for them to get themselves prepared mentally and physically?
Work out every day. Go to the gym, train.
Just basic stuff that you guys do every day.
Yeah. Go out if you can't afford a membership or whatever reason there is. Go outside, run.
Mm-hmm.
You have to train and you have to be in shape for this. There are exceptions of people who are not in the greatest aesthetic shape, but they're great wrestlers. But those are also the great characters and the great promos. And those people are very rare. Mick Foley, Kevin Owens. They're great promos. They're not just not in great shape and just wrestlers. They're great promos. Puff is not a bodybuilder, but he's a great character.
Mm-hmm. I was going to bring Puff up because I brought Puff up to Mikey, and because I had met him a couple of years ago or everything, and he'd even asked me because he's like, "Oh, I've seen you do shows here and there," and he's like, "Where can I go?" And I'm like, at that point, Grapplers was kind of like a need to know, and then you guys opened it up, and I was like, "Hey, you can go here." I can't guarantee you they'll do anything because I saw the size that he was in.
I didn't let him for a long time.
Yeah, Mikey said that. Mikey was the only one that was in his corner, and you were just like, "No."
Did anybody tell the story yet?
Mikey kind of touched on it, but I want to get your side of the story because Mikey gave his side being the adamant one. When Puff came in, and to wanting to do the tryout,
he took the tryout,
and he did,
and I thought he was going to die.
Why just because of his overall shape and
he looked, and he was, I don't know, he was sweating and everything, and he was heavy, and I was like, Mikey, please stop. He's going to die. We're going to have a death on our hands. Please stop. But whatever, he made it through it, or he did a version of it. I don't know if he could get all the way up on the push-ups, but he took this tryout, and but I'm like, I can't teach him how to bump. He's not going to be able to go back and take a bump. So we're like, go back there and work out. So that's what he did. And then there was the Ethan Page seminar that we had here in July.
Yeah, Mikey talked about the Ethan Page of him and Kevin Blackwood, and Garcia coming back to you guys.
Yeah.
And mind blown, holy crap.
Yeah.
They just had the best match I've ever seen.
It was a good match. I don't remember how long he had been training here or had been showing up here. He wasn't getting in the ring. Because I was like, no, you need to I don't know exactly what was said, but it was understood. You need to get in shape before I can train you how to bump. But he'd been there for maybe a couple months.
Yeah, like he said, it was like 3, 4, or 5 months that he was like working out and just like watching you guys in the ring.
That might be wrestler math, but yeah, it was a while. And then the Ethan Page seminar happened, and he had paid his money for the Ethan Page seminar, and I stepped back, and Ethan Page talked to everybody for a long time, and then he had him do practice matches and promos, and his promo was good too. It was there was sexual innuendo in it, but it was good.
Of course. Well,
and then we allowed him to be in the ring. And the rest is history. So, I try to be careful of that stuff. And I think that's also where Mikey's a great compliment, where he sees that stuff that I don't. And I really defer to him on, the tryout. He runs most of the tryouts, and I ask him, is this person for real or jabron? And he will tell me.
And he'll tell you.
Yes.
Because you're the guy that gives them the basics and fundamentals inside the ring, so you want to make sure that they want this.
Yeah, I mean, you have to really care about this. There's a video where I said this, but you have to love this. I can teach you how to do fundamentals, but whether or not you're going to be good at this is going to depend on how passionate you are about this. And a lot of people come here, and understandably, they don't understand the depth of what indie wrestling is and what's needed to succeed at it.
Well, I'm going to leave. That's perfect. That wraps it up. I'm going to leave it there. I'd like to thank Brandon Thurston for joining us here on the TTRP. We're wrapping up here at Grapplers Anonymous. Brandon Thurston, one of the many hands at training the future of pro wrestling here in the Western New York area. Wrapping up here at Grapplers Anonymous, the expose, so to speak, as Mikey every night join us once again. Now, from all the students, from Nolan to Kevin Blackwood, Dan Garcia, Vinnie Moon, and even now Brandon Thurston is joining us. You guys have a plethora of success and knowledge here at Grapplers. What advice would you give to someone that's going to listen to this that wants to chase the dream of pro wrestling?
Be in shape, get a college education, come to Grapplers, put in that hard work, and if you put in a successful amount of hard work and you're not a shithead, we'll help you achieve your dream. Do everything we possibly can in this building to facilitate you being the best professional wrestler you possibly can be in achieving your dreams.
All right, well, we're going to wrap up here. I'm going to give Mikey every night the floor to promote Grapplers, all the information where you can get in touch with Mikey, Brandon, or Pepper to come to Grapplers and learn how to train to become a pro wrestler.
That's right. We're on the Instagram, Graps Anon, Twitter, Graps Anon, Facebook page, Grapplers Anonymous Pro Wrestling Training. You can directly message the Facebook page, or you can link up with one of us, find out how to get a hold of us. We're not too hard to find. Or you can come down on 9 Victory Avenue, knock on the door with the little grappler signal, a symbol on it. And then you could potentially achieve your dream. So remember, key to that is hard work, daddy, yeah.
Well, that was Mikey every night. And this has been the Grapplers Anonymous Intervention Expose here on the TTRP.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.